Have you ever heard the phrase, you can't track what you don't measure? Well, when it comes to business, if you think about what is the top constraint you're currently having with your business, right? Is it in generating leads? Is it converting sales, right? Is it attracting, delivery with your clients? Is it working with your team? Like, where's the major constraint in your business right now? And if you think about and you focus on that, if you focus 80% of your time and attention and energy into solving the one thing that is the biggest constraint in your business, you'll solve it faster. So often we struggle because we put it off and we mix in, yes, this is the biggest constraint in my business, but right now I'm doing all these other things and I don't have time to fix it. So we're going to talk a little bit today about what are the things that we track, that we measure so that we can grow our business here at Media Firestorm every single day. I'm Angel Tuccy. I run the Need a Guest Facebook group, where currently we bring podcast hosts together to help them find great guests and guests find great podcasts. So if you've got a show and you're looking for guests or you want to get booked on more podcasts, I encourage you to go to our Facebook group, needaguest.com, and plug into that today. But I really want to talk about what are the things that we're tracking every single day in order to move our business forward. And if we stay focused on the things that will grow our business every day, our business will grow, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. So there's really two core things to track in your business, two core activities. And we start our day with these two activities every day. We teach our clients to start their day with these two activities every day. What are these two activities? I'm so glad you asked. Number one, create visibility, exposure, traffic. Get your message out in front of new people. Let them know who you are, what you do, and how you can serve them. The way that we do that, we get booked on a podcast. So every day we are inviting and networking with podcast hosts who are looking for guests for their shows, guests who are going to, be in front of our target audience. We have an incredible network in-house at the Need a Guest Facebook group, but we also curate out of that Facebook group a database of hosts who are looking for guests. So I'm always networking and connecting with hosts who are looking for guests in order to not only help ourselves, but in order to help our clients. Every day, if we spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes in the first part of the day, number one, connecting with a podcast host, booking a show, and number two, opening up our store to create sales, to create revenue, to present our offer, selling something. And it doesn't have to be salesy, like pushy sales, but our job as business owners is to bring in clients, to enroll new clients, to sell to clients. I mean, we're not in business to just make an impact, right? To have touchy-feely. We can't stay in business if we don't have clients. So two activities. Number one, exposure. Number two, revenue, right? You can call it traffic, you can call it visibility, right? Just lead gen, whatever you're doing in order to get in front of new audience and new people. And number two is make offers, present your program, present your service, invite people to work with you, right? Like somehow create revenue. So how do we do that? Like here's some things. So each week, as we are tracking our activities and things that we're focused on. So these are the things. Number one, how many new shows did we get booked on? Right? That's easy, right? You can look, how many shows did we get booked on? Number two, how many shows did we actually do interviews for? When we first start with our clients on getting booked on podcasts and helping them to leverage podcast interviews for lead gen and to generate new leads, think about the cadence, right? And how much time this takes. Really, if you're spending the first 30 days in Media Firestorm or in our Need a Guest group getting booked on shows. So you spend the 30 days, every day I'm going to go and get booked on a new show. We have typically a 50 to 60% booking rate. So it means for every host that we connect with, for every 3 hosts, we usually get booked on 2 shows. So if you're inside the community or you're networking somewhere where there are podcast hosts and you're reaching out to podcast hosts, one podcast host a day, right? Over the course of 30 days, you should probably get booked on about 15 to 20 shows. So every day, right, spend 10 minutes connecting with a podcast host, booking a new interview. But that's the first 30 days. So if you spend the first 30 days just getting booked on podcasts, you're probably in the second 30 days is really when you start interviewing, recording those podcast interviews. because it takes a minute, right, for everybody's schedules to line up. So the first 30 days, we're really filling our calendar. The second 30 days, we're continuing to fill our calendar, but now we're also recording those interviews. Now, 90 days later, month 3, we're still continuing to book interviews every single day, and we're filling up our calendar 2 per week, right? And so the weeks are starting to fill up and we're seeing the consistency show up. So month 1, we're only booking, right? Month 2, we're recording. Month 3, we're continuing to book, we're continuing to record, but now we're really starting to see those podcast interviews be released, to actually be dropped, to be featured out into the media. And so now we can start sharing and marketing and promoting all of these podcast interviews. And so month 4 is really where the consistency and the compound effect really starts to take off. Because imagine right now you've had 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 podcast interviews are now starting to be released, right? 2 a week on a regular, consistent basis. We are now about 4 months into the year before we see that compound effect, before we really see the all the results start to add up. If I would have stopped in month 1, or I would have only gotten booked on a few podcasts early on, or just, randomly here or there, by month 4, I wouldn't have this much traffic. I wouldn't have this much volume. And my uncle-in-law, right, my husband's uncle used to say, he was in the fence building business. He's like, the key to business success is volume, right? It's volume. How many shows are you getting booked on? How many interviews did we actually book? And how many interviews did we actually do? But just know, like, plan ahead, right? This is a long-term game plan. And it's really in month 4 where you start to really see that momentum kick in, the compound effect of all of your efforts really start to take off. And then it's on rinse and repeat. I schedule 2, I book 2, or I book 2, I interview on 2 every week. Boom, boom. But you've got to get the momentum built in. Where do you do that? Go to needaguest.com, plug into our Facebook group. So tracking measurement number 1, how many podcasts did I book this week? Tracking measurement number 2, how many interviews did I do this week? The nice thing about having 2 interviews on your calendar every week, week in, week out, is you aren't dependent on any one show to build your business, to attract all the leads that you need for your business. If one gets rescheduled, you have to, in fact, I just had to reschedule one today because his cat, right? There was an emergency. Whether it doesn't matter the reason, right? I always feel like if something gets rescheduled, it's because the timing's going to be even better the next time around. I truly believe that. So sometimes they'll get rescheduled. Maybe it's not a great fit. Maybe it wasn't a slam dunk, but we're not putting all of our eggs in any one podcast basket. I have 50 of them over the course of 6 months, and it's the overall compound effect of me getting in front of 50 audiences, connecting with 50 hosts over 6 months that's really going to pay off in the long run. So just know, right? Marathon versus sprint, right? This is the marathon. This is your business. Plan for a long game strategy for building your business. So 4 months in, right? Just to create the foundation and the momentum to get you going. Now, can you do less? Do you have to be that aggressive? No, but it'll take longer, right? You do you. Like, this isn't a tried and true and you have to do and put this on, but just know that the more opportunities, the more swings, the more opportunities you are at bat, the more hits you're going to get, right? So let's make sure that we're tracking. So you do you. Tracking number 1, how many did we schedule? And tracking number 2, how many did we book? Tracking measurement number 3, leads, right? How many new leads did we generate into our email box? Meaning how many new email addresses or phone numbers, right? Contact information. How many new leads did I add into my database this week? Now, if we're out there speaking every week and we're getting that momentum, maybe we're also networking, maybe we're also doing some social media, maybe we're also speaking, whatever, all the things that you're doing. Maybe we're getting referrals from other people. Referrals are incredible. they're high quality, they just tend to come in at a different cadence, right? Like honey, right? They kind of drip in, right? Like they, what is that? I don't know. They kind of just, it's not like fast drips. They just kind of come in. They're great, but they're slow. So how many new leads? And if we're tracking, right, and we're doing things, if our biggest constraint is to get new leads into our database, then 80% of our energy needs to be focused on bringing in new leads. So where do you have connections? Where do you know people? What JV partners can you partner up with? Who can you speak to? What podcasts can you get booked on, right? Let's start to build in the activities and the systems, right, that are bringing in new leads every single week. So measurement number 3, how many new leads? And there's actually an equation, right? You can track your exposure at the bank. Your revenue, you can see a direct correlation to the size of your email list to how much revenue you're bringing in on a monthly basis. And the more data you have, the more volume you have coming in, the more data you have to assess, then you can actually review what's working. What do I need to do more of, right? What can I amp up in this space? So that was measurement number 3. How many new leads did we bring in? Measurement number 4. How many sales calls did I book? Or if you're doing webinars, how many people came to a webinar? How many people did I speak in front of? How many people did I present my offer to this week? Right? So if we're building our traffic, we're connecting, right? We're building up our email list and we're sending out emails consistently. We're hosting webinars, right? We're getting our message out. We're actually presenting our offer. How many sales calls did I book? How many people signed up for my webinar? How many people did I present my offer to this week? Do you see how like this is really, right, a system, something you can manage, something you can track, you can actually go back and look at where the numbers are falling short. Oh, we didn't do enough here. So you can see, like it all goes back to if we didn't get enough traffic, then it's always going to filter down, right? If we were in front of 100 people, X number of people opted in, X number of people came to a call, X number of people booked, like you can see the trajectory here. So yeah, measurement number 4, how many sales calls did you book? How many people did you present your offer to? If you're speaking in front of a room or you're doing a webinar or a workshop, you can start to see the numbers. If I get X number of people on the webinar in order to convert, right? You'll know we need to book X number of sales calls in order to convert because measurement number 5, what do we track? How many new clients enrolled? How many new clients enrolled this week? And we can start to see based on the number of bookings, right, that we had, we can pretty much predetermine or average out what we think that number is going to be. And if that number needs to go up, what else needs to go up? How many calls did we book, right? How many emails did we send? How many are on my email list? How many people did I need to get in front of, right? So you can start to see, right, there's an actual strategy here. So measurement number 5 is how many new clients did we enroll this week? And then measurement number 6 is cash flow. How much cash did we bring in? Some of those might have been deposits. Some of those might be payment plans, right? If you've got a membership, right, where they're paying monthly or, they're making installments. How much cash flow did we bring in? Because seriously, at the end of the day, we want to keep our business doors open. We need to bring in cash. So those are our 5 core measurements that we track in-house, that we encourage our clients to track every week. You might have some different things depending on the constraint that's happening in your business if you're solving something else. But for marketing and sales purposes and lead gen, these are the 5 things that we track. And we can always go back. And then we work on facts, not feelings. If my business isn't growing, it's not because the weather was bad or I was in a bad mood, right? Or I was just emotional. No, I can see if I do these things. So if we go back to the beginning and we do the 2 things every day to grow our business, get booked on podcasts, right? And send an email out to our audience every single day, right? So now I'm creating exposure and I'm creating revenue. And if as long as I do those 2 activities and I start my day out with those 2 activities, and it takes 30 minutes out of my day to write that email and to get booked on that podcast and connect with that podcast host, then boom, I'm golden. I know I've laid the foundation for success, and I'm consistently going to do that for the next 30, 60, 90, 120 days. Track it. I promise you'll be able to measure because now you're tracking. You'll have data, you've got volume, and you can see where you need to make some changes and some tweaks in order to fix any of the little gaps, right, that we might have going on in here. So I hope that helps. Go on and check out needaguest.com if you want to find guests and get booked on podcasts. Excited to help you and bring this all together. Cheers.